Good day, mate. It's Aussie San. You are watching this video because you really want to know when international students will be allowed to enter Australia. And today, I'm going to tell you how Australian government is planning to let international students come back and how each state and territory is staging their own plan to return international students to the campus. As you may be aware, Australian government has already opened its long-closed borders to allow Australian citizens and permanent residents to travel overseas and return to Australia without quarantine. However, some states in Australia are not really following the decision of federal government. Let's use Queensland as an example. Even federal government has already opened Australia's border, but Queensland, which is governed by Labor Party, said unless Queensland's vaccination rate is above 90%, otherwise all returnees have to be quarantined for 14 days. But the good news is, it is expected that Queensland will reach 90% of vaccination rate in very early 2022. So what will be each state and territories do for international students to return to Australia? New South Wales. In the first phase, New South Wales international students' arrivals plan will allow a limited number of 250 international students to return every fortnight from early December. Returned students will be quarantined in purpose-built student accommodation in Sydney. This plan will continue to return up to 500 international students to the States by the end of the year. Victoria. The first stage of Victoria government's students' arrival plan will be allowing 120 places for international students each week. And the chosen students will be those students who need to undertake practical learning to continue or complete their programs, such as health and medical degrees. They are the priorities. Queensland. For Phase 1, Queensland student arrivals plan will allow 250 international students to return every fortnight from early 2022. The returned students will be quarantined at the regional quarantine facility, Whale Camp in Toowoomba. If the Phase 1 implements well and successful, more opportunities will be considered in following phases. Australian Capital Territory. International students who are fully vaccinated with TGA-recognized COVID-19 vaccine will be welcomed back to Australian Capital Territory next year. The ACT government said quarantine won't be required for fully vaccinated students. However, they need to follow Australian government vaccination and testing requirements for international arrivals. South Australia. South Australia's international borders will be opened to all fully vaccinated international students without quarantine once 90% of South Australians are fully vaccinated. It is expected that the 90% target will be reached in late December 2021. Northern Territory, Western Australia, and Tasmania. The government of these three states and territories haven't announced any further information regarding to its state's international students' arrival plan in the end of October. I will keep updating to you if one of the states announced new international student arrivals plan. I hope the information I provided helped you roughly know how and when you are likely to return to Australia. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click the bell. Then you will be updated whenever there is an Australian border update.